Hi everybody, it's Michelle here from My Homeschool again, and today I've got some really great interviewees. In homeschooling, we keep getting all these families who are coming to homeschooling because they have got some sort of a situation with their kids. So we're getting bullying and anxiety and school refusal and health issues. And because homeschooling is getting so many more of these kids, I thought I'd get two of my friends on who have a business called Restore Parent Coaching, and to just talk about some of these issues to help us through it. Because if you're going through something like that, you often don't know how to respond. And if you've chosen homeschooling as one of the reasons that you're going to respond, it doesn't necessarily mean that's a magic bullet. You still need some support along the way. And so I've asked these two lovely women to come and talk about how they help parents who are going through these situations. So I'll get them both to introduce themselves to you and tell them a little bit about themselves. So Lil, would you like to just give us a quick hello and how you came to be a part of Restore Parent Coaching?
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Michelle, and thanks for having us on your program. And it's just a real honour to be here to talk to the homeschooling community. So I have previously homeschooled in the past for a couple of years with my firstborn child. And that really was very pivotal in me recognising that parenting is extremely hard. I want to just qualify that first and foremost. It's a very, very challenging job, probably the most challenging job we'll ever face, particularly with all the emotional attachments that we have to our beautiful kids. So I am a mother of three, and I came into parent coaching because I had my own personal story with my children. One of my kids was diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and there was a lot of oppositional and defiant behaviours, and there was just no place for me to go. No matter what I sought, no matter where I went for help, sadly, I never really found a solution to his struggling behaviours, nor to my growing and increasing anxiety. And until I discovered this program that I now help run, and it's called the Parent Confidence Program. And it's a program that I believe was an absolute game changer. It's been a game changer in my life personally, even though my kids are now teenagers. It has absolutely revolutionised my world. And although I still have oppositional and defiant behaviours, the way I can manage that behaviour now is chalk and cheese to how I managed it back when I was a young mum. So I'm excited and passionate to be there for any family that wants to jump on board and learn a new way that can empower them and bring them to a place of becoming a calm and thoughtful parent despite World War III or chaos in your home. And so that's what has led me to want to be a coach, because I didn't have the solutions at the time. And now I just want to be able to, even if I can save one family from some of the pain that I went through, I'm really keen and passionate.
Oh, that's great. And what about you, Shelby? What's your story? How did you come to parent coaching?
Yes, lovely to be here. Thanks for having me. I am a wife and a mother of four children, and two of them are adults now, but you never stop being a parent, and it's always wonderful to learn. So I mainly came on to the program because I am a teacher, and I just increasingly have seen parents not knowing what to do and asking me how to best help their children. I had a real passion to know how to help these wonderful parents, and for myself as well. And so I looked into this parent confidence project, and I have seen that it is different to anything I've ever seen before. And I think the main reason is because it actually focuses on the parent. And as a teacher, I can see, and as a parent myself, that you cannot make your child change, and you cannot fix your own child as much as we love and want to, and what we can often see what we think is best for them, but we can't actually help them make that decision. They have to make it for themselves. So this was one of the only programs I've seen that actually helps the parent adjust themselves to then have an overflow into the child and family situation. And so it's been a pleasure for me to start to support others in this area.
Oh, that's great. Now, when I was asking you lovely ladies to do this interview with me, I kept calling it counselling, and I got wrapped over the knuckles in a very nice way and told that it's not counselling, it's coaching. So, what's the difference between coaching and counselling?
Well, I find that really with a coach, we come alongside our client and we are there as a supporting role. And we really focus on helping them discover things about themselves. So we help them through asking questions and they become aware of what they themselves can adjust in themselves to change to help their own individual situation. Whereas a counsellor can look at the past and sometimes focuses on healing emotions of the past and then help them to look at their future potential. Whereas the coach focuses on what's here and now and moving forward into the future and developing the full potential that they have and the resource they are in themselves. So we focus on questions, and the questioning helps them to look at themselves and become aware of what they can actually adjust in themselves to each situation. So we're not really looking at strategies rather than principles and key ideas to change their ways.
Okay, so you know, that's the theory of it. So what's an example of how, you know, you've seen parent coaching really help a family?
So, a couple of clients I've coached, there was a lot of anxiety for this particular family. There was a lot of anxiety in the mum, a lot of anxiety in the children, particularly the firstborn child. And what was happening in this situation was there was a lot of family relational breakdown and reactivity between this mother and son. The more she worried and was anxious about her child, the more reactive he became. And what happens is as parents, we can become, it's all out of love and incredibly conscientious, good parents, but we can become quite fixated and monitoring of that child that may be displaying symptoms such as anxiety. But what happens is as we closely monitor that child, we can either push them into dependency and neediness or more, you know, demanding, attention-seeking, impulsive behaviours, just depending on the personality of the child. And so for this particular boy, he was becoming more and more insular and more needy, where his world was closing in. But as she continued to focus on him more and more, it got worse. This program was able to help her begin to see what her role was in this circular dance that she was having with her son. And as she began to look at the things that she was doing, such as the monitoring and the expressing of her worry to him, when she recognized she was doing that, we then helped her to discover a different way of doing that, where she could actually begin managing her own anxiety and to stop displacing that onto him. And she wasn't catching the ball of his anxiety. I sort of have this great analogy of the ball catching. You know, when I'm anxious, I can throw that ball to my child, they catch the ball, and next thing they're exhibiting anxious behaviour also. So it's virtually teaching the parent to stop catching that ball from the child, but also not throwing the ball of anxiety that they have, but actually maturely in a calm and thoughtful way managing their own emotions associated with the behaviours of that child.
Let's just talk about a few actual scenarios that we're seeing in the homeschool movement. What are some tips that a parent, say, has with school refusal? What would be, you know, initially a tip that they could have, and then how could parent coaching help with that?
Yes, absolutely. Very difficult, because we know that that's what we want our child to do, is to go to school, and we would like them to see our view, of course, but children often don't see things the way we see it, so we can't make them do it once again. And we as parents often feel like we adjust things around the child as much as we can to help them make a good decision. But sometimes it actually works in reversal, and the more we help them, the less they help themselves. And that actually can be detrimental to their growth. Children need and require steps of independence through their life to then become a responsible and independent adult. And as soon as we take any steps away from them in obtaining that, it actually stops some of their development. So in school refusal, we feel like we'd want to help them any way we can, remind them of the time they need to be up and out with at homeschooling, etc., have their breakfast ready and maybe help them get those things. But we actually need to let them work that out for themselves and not try and solve their problem of not going to participate in homeschooling.
So do you mean don't tell them it's time to go?
It probably,
do you mean stop saying, like, have your breakfast, get this, get that, is part of the steps to sort of pull back on those things? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. And I think it's often the reverse of what we think will work. The more we are helping them try to fix their problem, it actually is doing the opposite. It actually is sometimes making that problem greater in themselves because they're not looking to solve it for themselves. We are trying to solve it for them, and they're not learning how to gain responsible independence to become a responsible person.
And to add to that, Shelby, you're right.
Yes.
We having boundaries around that. So this is the expectation. Absolutely. When the expectation is not met, well, sorry, you won't able to face this responsibility, and the privileges and the responsibilities go hand in hand. And with this responsibility comes the privilege of going out and playing soccer, going and, joining a team sport, or going out and playing with friends. And so linking those together to help motivate that child. Again, we're not, it's not a reward and punishment system. We're looking at teaching parents to find intrinsic motivators for that child. That child needs to be internally, while we're forcing and coercing, the child never grows in that internal resilience and capacity to go, I have to do this for me because this is important to me and I need this. So ultimately want all our children to be self-motivated and not just doing things out of coercion or being forced.
So is the parent coaching, when I would, for example, say my child wasn't going to school and I was feeling like, well, I'm a hopeless parent, one, because my child isn't going to school. My child is probably never going to get an education. They're going to be, never going to go to university, and never going to get a decent job. They're never going to get these things. And I'm having a meltdown about it too. And all my friends probably think I'm like a terrible parent and stuff like that. Is the parent coaching also helping the parent deal with those emotions? Because I would imagine that is as poisonous as having to deal with the fact that you're trying to help your child out in this situation.
No, that's a very good point, Michelle. The problem is the more we micromanage that child and coerce, the more their anxiety grows, the more my anxiety grows, and it becomes this cycle of conflict or cycle of worry. But we can help teach the parents to manage their emotions, but we first and foremost redefine the parenting paradigm of actually what's in your control and what isn't in your control. And when the parent begins to actually define, actually, I'm the only one that I can control. I can't essentially control any of my children or even my partner or anyone else for that matter, but I can only control me. And so once they begin, and that's why the focus is wholly solely on the parent, once they begin to focus on themselves and what's in their control, which is actually managing their own emotions associated with the difficulty the child's having. And it mainly is the worry, like you're saying, all the guilt that us mothers can be attacked with, and that sense of lack, and we're just not good enough parents. That all goes away when we begin to manage ourselves and deal with our own emotion and anxiety relating to that. And that has a flow over effect. As I grow in self-regulation and emotional maturity, that has a flow over effect onto our children, because the research has proven as I display and role model overcoming my anxiety and self-regulation, so do to my children. My children do. So it's that role modeling of, this is important to me because, this I'm willing to do, I'm not willing because X is important to me. You getting an education is really important to me. This is why I'm pushing this, but this is entirely up to you. I will support you no matter what you choose, but ultimately your choice, you need, the ultimate is to get an education for your future. But I need, how you're going to go about doing that, and just starting to reframe their parenting with questions and putting the responsibility back on the child, depending on their age, of course, and helping them to take responsibility.
So wouldn't a child, say you've got a child with anxiety and they are going to a counsellor and they're getting counselling, doesn't the counsellor give you all those tips, or is it just really the counsellor just deals with the child and doesn't really deal with the parent? Is that what you find happens?
I've found that most places I've ever seen is actually all child focused. And this is one of the first program I've seen that actually looks fully at the parent. And I just found that incredible, because I realized myself how much we cannot actually change anyone else except ourselves. So it's imperative, I believe, to actually only look at yourself and to adjust what you can in your own self to make the changes that you want to have. So as Lil said, if we're role modeling calmness and thoughtful behaviour, we are more likely to get that back from our children. If we are role modeling anxiety and this is a terrible situation and what are we going to do, well, that actually is going to increase the anxiety of the child. So we really need to step back and look at ourselves and see actually what we're doing, how we're actually parenting, what is it that's helpful and effective in my parenting and what isn't. So we're always looking at ourselves. We're not looking at the child. Reflection is a key to this program. Reflecting on, hang on, is what I'm doing, is it working? And if not, why do I continually do the same thing? What patterns am I seeing continually being used by myself? And are they helpful for this situation for the child, or are they not?
And just adding to that again, Shelby, so this coaching space actually provides a safe place that's completely blame-free for all parents to just go on that journey of self-discovery of, let's look at what's actually happening in an objective way. We pull out the microscope and together we go on an investigative journey of what's actually working and what's not, and how can we then begin to adjust ourselves to begin to see the changes that we want to see in ourselves and in our children and in our family as a whole.
So if a parent says, well, I know I need this, but I need my husband to come, or my partner, or my partner doesn't want to come, or we're divorced and it's only one of us, or whatever. Is there any point in doing it if it's only one parent?
Absolutely. Even if there's only one, it's great if both can come, and that's going to be ideal. But if there's one parent who's willing to look at themselves and adjust themselves and make a change, that small change, even a small change, can actually just make a change to the whole dynamics of the family system. So it is actually going to be beneficial for even one parent. When one person, you can imagine when a parent, if they are reactive and if they are constantly responding to a child in a certain way, possibly if they're getting cross every time the child's not doing what they're asking, if that one parent suddenly decides through this program that, hey, I can adjust myself and my emotion and my maturity, and I can calmly respond to my child's question, they are going to get a huge shock this is not how mum or dad usually responds. And so that one change can really ripple through the whole family system, and it can make a really positive change to the whole family.
All right. Well, so how long do you think it would take to, start seeing positive results? Do you find, after a couple of sessions, people are really starting to see change?
Absolutely, Michelle. I think obviously, like anything though, how much the parent puts into it is how much they're going to get out. It's always uncomfortable when we're looking at ourselves and having to try and work out ways of change. Change is uncomfortable, and changing a habit pattern does take time. And so it has got a big picture focus. But in my experience, anything that's worthwhile always takes time and practice. But just one small change that you can put into place for an example for me was, not responding to, the defiant behavior always in a, it would sort of be a red flag to me. I'd sort of want to jump at it and nip it in the bud quickly. Slowly over time, I have begun to just walk away, turn my back and walk away, even though inside that same emotional reaction is still there. But I'm learning to shut my mouth, turn my back and walk away. And the flow over effect has been profound in that it does not continue to escalate into a full-blown meltdown or a power struggle of argumentative behaviours between me and my son or the client and their child. So it's very, very powerful, and quite quick.
All right. So is there any other, tips that you feel like we haven't covered?
I think the key for all parents is that it doesn't matter what the diagnosis or the behaviours or the struggles are. It actually doesn't matter. It all comes down to how am I, as the leader and the parent of the home, responding. In any given moment, I have a choice to respond or react. Responding, like Shelby has said, in a calm, thoughtful manner where I can just pause and actually think about how I want to respond to that behaviour is incredibly powerful, a powerful gift to give my child in helping them to have that breathing space to be able to look at themselves. But when you get that reactivity dance, it ends up becoming a very habitual, I do this, he does that, this cycle that actually just continues on and on and on forever. It's interrupting that with understanding first and foremost the principles and the values that we want to bring to the table for our families, and how can I go about role modelling this principle. For me, it's respect. How can I go about role modelling that? Even if I have got really ugly behaviour, how can I stay respectful at all times?
Mm-hmm. And just also what I love about the course, the program, is that it focuses on the parent is the one who actually knows the children the most, and of course loves the children, and so they are the ones who can actually change the whole family system, because that they are living with them, they have connection. And what this program really promotes is how vital keeping those connections open and relationship. And the way we do that is by the principles we actually explain throughout the program, the principles that actually are a life management skill, and it covers every aspect of the family. And it's not going to just focus on one strategy to do, and then the parent thinks, oh, great, that strategy worked for this situation, but then there might be another situation that comes up and it won't work for. So this actually is the principles we provide as coaches is something that actually can relate to any situation.
Yeah.
So you're parent coaches, but you are actually following a program. So how long is the actual program that you run?
It's 6 to 7 week programs. Sometimes we can do an introduction session. We don't have to, but 6 or 7 weeks.
And is that once a week or?
It can be weekly or fortnightly. We would like to just be able to fit in with the parent.
And so if obviously homeschooling, I know that you're in the Lake Macquarie region of New South Wales, but can parents do this remotely? Like, is this something that you could do via Zoom or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, all right, well, so your business is called, just give us your name of your business again and your website.
It's Restore Parent Coaching, www.restoreparentcoaching.com.au.
And they just go on there. Is there a contact form that they would then contact you, and then you'll contact them? And what happens then? Do they have a bit of a phone chat or something so that they can see if their situation is
compatible?
Yeah. And then so is this a free service or does it cost money?
So we do a free introductory service where we can actually, and we also do emails with handing out more information to make sure that the parent's happy and feels like it's the right fit for them. And from then, it's the other 6 sessions would be a paid situation. But again, we like to meet parents where they're at. But at this point, it's $100 per session. But we always bring the parent on board and make sure that that's an affordable cost for them.
And is that available as part of NDIS or I mean, I doubt it would be, but
we are working toward that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lil and Shelby, for helping explain some of those situations. And I really hope that parents, because we're, when I talk to you parents and everything, you often say how you need help, and just buying a curriculum or just buying things doesn't necessarily solve your problem. You need real help with the family and family dynamics. And so a service like this, I think, would be invaluable because of the life skills that it sounds like they're getting, and just helping parents to deal with the scenario. And I know that you guys are not anti-homeschooling, which is often something that a lot of counsellors are, because they don't really understand homeschooling. So so I encourage everybody to look up restoreparentcoaching.com.au and speak to Lil and Shelby. They're both quality women. I know them in my real life as well, and I know their kids too, and I think that they would really help you out. So I hope that some of you will really find this a help.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you
All
for
right.
having us.
Bye, everybody.